what Pharrell just said to Drake sums Drake up perfectly. Now, for those of you that don't know, Drake has been in a long time beef with Pharrell. Now, notice I said Drake has been in a long time beef with Pharrell. Not they were beefing. It's a one-sided beef. Drake hates Pharrell. Now, Drake had a problem. See, this beef is so one-sided that Drake has been trying to get Pharrell to respond for years. Now, let's go back for a second. This whole thing started because Birdman didn't pay Pharrell for a beat. Birdman don't pay anybody. Pusha T, who goes way back with Pharrell, said, "You suck, Birdman." Lil Wayne, who was like a son to Birdman, said, "Who suck, Pusha T?" Pusha T said, "Well, both of y'all suck." Drake, who was like a son to Lil Wayne, said, "Who suck, Pusha T?" Pusha T said, "Well, all y'all suck." And then Drake and Pusha T got in a beef. You know, that one famous beef, Pusha T versus Drake. The consensus is Pusha T won the battle. But if you know anything about Drake, he ain't gonna let anything go. It's been subtle, but Drake has slid in some shots against Pusha T. Pusha T has been like, Drake said. So he started throwing shots at Pharrell. Pharrell said, so Drake says, "All right, bet." Pharrell decides to sell some of his iconic chains so he can donate the proceeds to small business owners. Drake buys all the chains. Then Drake starts wearing them in music videos, starts showing them off a little bit, like, "Ooh, I got your chains, now what?" Now in the culture, if you get your chain snatched and somebody starts wearing it, you know, you look a little silly. But Drake doesn't really understand the culture. Drake thought this was like a diss, but no one even really knew he did this. Because Pharrell didn't get his chains taken, Drake bought them in a business transaction. And worst of all, Pharrell didn't say anything about it. What's he supposed to say? So Drake raises the stakes. He said, "I burned the chains," in a song. Pharrell said, Drake said, "I said." Kendrick Lamar slides in and said, "Boy, we heard what you said. For Pharrell, I inherit the beef." And that's why Kendrick Lamar said in his diss to Drake that he's inheriting Pharrell's beef. Because Pharrell don't want to beef with you, but you can beef with me, Drake. So Drake responds by saying, "If Pharrell want his legacy back, tell him to come get it in my house." Pharrell said. Drake said, "I said." Kendrick said, "Boy, we heard what you said." You're not listening, Drake. You better stay focused or you're gonna lose. Drake loses the battle. After he loses, an interviewer goes over to Pharrell, and Pharrell finally responds to the chain situation. They said, "Pharrell, you got a Lego movie made about you. You GQ's designer of the year. You a legendary producer. What you feel about the Drake chain situation?" Now, if you know anything about Pharrell, he not gonna act up in an interview. He said, "Well, I don't feel anything about it." Drake is a fan of hip-hop. He's a fan of the culture. I guess that's why he bought the chains. But this is years in the making. The interviewer's trying to get something going. He says, "It didn't affect you?" Pharrell said, "No." Pharrell literally responds with one word, but to the interviewer's credit, he keeps going. He wants to get a scoop. He said, Pharrell said, "Allow me to explain further. When you let go of something, you're supposed to let go of your connection to it as well, not just a physical item. I let the chains go. They're gone. If I wanted them, I would have kept them." The interviewer said,